You know what? Fine. I'll just get back in the goddamn rowboat. Jesus Christ. The salt is swelling inside you. Give in to your salt. The salt. It's calling to you. Just let it in. Yes, it's that time again, and it will soon be time for the new ranked season. Season 6 is coming out soon. I'm moving from competitive videos at the moment over to ranked because right now there's not many competitive games taking part. There's some trainings with TTT and other clans which I may be able to show now and then, but you know, we'll see. What I've done is I'm going to give the top 3 picks for each ship class in this ranked season, just of my opinion, just to give you some idea, and I've given it to you a week or two in advance so you can try and head for these ships if you wish to. I've asked a lot of the guys in TTT who have a hell of a lot of rank knowledge, this being a lot of us have reached rank 1 once, myself included. A few of them have done it twice, and about half of them have done it 3 or more times, so half of them have flints and all sorts. So I figured that if anyone's good to ask, it's the TTT guys, because this season's going to be different. Last season was tier 8, this season we're jumping down to tier 7. It's worth mentioning that ranked is a really useful undertaking. If you've never done it before, I would highly recommend it. It gives you a completely different style of play. It gives you 7 versus 7 instead of the regular 12 versus 12. It tries to balance the teams as best it can, but everyone's definitely going to be the same tier, which is nice. And every time you unlock a rank, you unlock really good rewards. Some of them, particularly as you start going up higher, are insane. So lots and lots of flags. If you want flags, this is the way to get it. When you get much higher, you're looking at doubloons. I think rank 1 last time gave you 3,000 doubloons, and obviously you get the pirate flag as well. So really good undertaking if you want to play the game in a sort of serious way, with working a little bit harder with your team, and also with the prizes that you can get from it. It's, you know, I would definitely recommend giving it a go. So, I'm going to go through all the different tier 7 ships there are through pictures, and then I'll be moving on to my top 3 picks of each class. So let's get straight into it. First tree we'll take a quick look at then is the Americans, who have a pretty fleshed out tree these days. There you can see the Ranger, the Colorado for the battleships, Pensacola for cruisers, as well as the Atlanta and the Indianapolis, the Mahan for the destroyers, and the Saipan on top of the Ranger. The secret ones are also the Flint and the Sims, which are hiding away somewhere, you can't see them on the screen. Going on to the Japanese tree, we have the Hiryu aircraft carrier, we have the Nagato battleship, the Miyoko, the Akatsuki, and the Shiratsuyu for the destroyers there. So again, nice fleshed out tree. Japanese are one of the oldest trees in the game. Moving on to the Germans, who are getting quite a lot of ships now. You have the Gneisenau battleship, along with its sister the Scharnhorst, which is a premium. You have the York class cruiser and the new Mars destroyer. And the Germans are going to bring along all their armour as per usual. Going on to the USSR, we have the Shores cruiser, we have the Kiev destroyer, and the premium Leningrad destroyer. Looking pretty lonely on the UK tree there, because they've not fleshed it out quite yet. We have the Fiji and the Belfast, both cruisers. So we're doing well for the Brits for cruisers, but unfortunately nothing else, sad face. And the loneliest tree there is, the poor Bliska. Look at him, just sat there all alone. But what a fantastic ship. Before I get stuck in then, I'm going to go through these ships without any modules fitted and without any captain skills. So this is just going to be the base values when the ship is fully upgraded. We're going to start straight off with battleships, and I'm going to go into the Scharnhorst. So the Scharnhorst, the German premium battleship, it's got a good gun range of 19.9 kilometers. It's fast at 30 knots. It's got very good armor for its class. Its torpedoes make it flexible, so it's got one torpedo launcher each side. It's got good reload on its guns of 20 seconds. It's got good turret traverse of 25 seconds from 180 degrees, so all the way from the left to the right, or the right to the left. It only has self-defense AA as one of the negatives, so its AA is a bit weak. It's got a poor turning circle at 800 meters. Its rudder shift isn't very good either at 14.55 seconds. Its guns are weaker than the other two battleships I've chosen because they're only 283 millimeters, and it's got quite a low health pool. So that's the Scharnhorst. On to the second battleship then, and it's another German battleship, in fact the only other German battleship at this tier, the Gneisenau. Now the Gneisenau has, again, fairly good gun range at 19.5 kilometers. Its reload is reasonable at 26 seconds, so it's slightly less than most battleships. Turret traverse 36 seconds to do 180 degrees, which is not bad. Torpedoes again make it flexible. It's got good armour, and it's the fastest out of the three I picked at 32 knots. Some negatives, again it's only got self-defense AA, it's got poor mobility, even worse than the Scharnhorst. Its turning circle is 830 meters and its rudder shift is 20.6 seconds. And another negative on the Gneisenau, which is a bit different, it only has 6 guns, so if your dispersion is bad and RNG is not with you and you're going to spread out a bit, you're not going to get many hits at all. They are quite powerful guns, but there's only 6 of them. So that's the Gneisenau. The final battleship that I would recommend then is the IJN's Nagato. It's got a very good range of 20.5 kilometers, so it slightly outranges the other two. It's got very good guns, 410 millimeters, which is 16-inch guns. It's got the best dispersion of the three I've picked, so it's 231 meters at max range. It's got good armour and it's got a very good health pool. It's got the most out of all of these. It's got relatively good speed at 25 knots, that's not bad for a battleship. It's got okay mobility compared to the other two anyway, with a rudder shift of 15.2 seconds and a turning circle of 770 meters, so nothing to write home about, but it's slightly better than the other two. It has, however, got very bad AA, like purely self-defense, and you need air cover really. It's got a poor reload in comparison to the other two of 32 seconds, and it's got the worst traverse of the three ships at 47.37 seconds. So that was the Nagato. Right, with battleships done, we're going to smash through the cruisers. And for the cruisers, I've picked some pretty interesting choices. Certainly the meta's changed since the British ships have come out. So, for the first cruiser, I have picked the Belfast. The Belfast is a premium British ship with a range of 15.4 kilometers on the main armament. It has smoke, as well as radar and hydroacoustic search, which makes it probably the most flexible ship on the list. It can do pretty much everything. It has good armor piercing, and unusually for a British ship it also has HE. It has reasonable concealment at 11 kilometers. Its AA is okay for self-defense, and yeah, it's just a really good all-rounder. I think it's going to be a good pick. On the negatives, it has poor armor protection, and its turning circle is the worst of the three I've picked at 680 meters. So that is the British Belfast. The next ship, a regular ship, is the Fiji, another British ship. Its range again is 15.4 kilometers. It has its own smoke cloud as well. It has torpedoes, which are 8 kilometer range and 61 knots, which are actually pretty damn good. It has great armor piercing, probably the best armor piercing at this tier for a cruiser. It's got an incredible turning circle of 590 meters. It has good concealment of 11.5 kilometers. It has the single launch feature on its torpedoes, which is really useful when someone's trying to charge you down in smoke, for example. So you can just bang all the torpedoes in a row if you know he's going to stay on the same course. The negatives, it only carries armor piercing rounds. It cannot fire HE. It's got poor armor and it's got very poor AA. It's not one that you're going to be able to hold out on your own against aircraft carriers. So that was the Fiji. Moving on, the last ship, and this is going to be a controversial one for most of you, and I don't blame you because even I don't have one, is the Flint. The American Flint premium cruiser, which is a reward ship for getting to rank 1 3 times. As I say, I've only done it once, but the Flint's a fantastic ship. It has 12 guns, has a 5-second reload, a great turning circle for 610 meters. It's got good concealment at 10.7 kilometers, which is the best of the three I've picked. Its AA is excellent, particularly under def AA. So once you put up your defensive fire consumable, you will pretty much blast anything that comes near you out of the sky, which is fantastic. It's got smoke as well, so it can hide in its own smoke clouds. The negatives on the Flint, its range of its main armament is only 11.1 kilometers. This can be improved with a couple of skills for your captain, but that is a very short range. It's only got 127mm guns, which is actually destroyer guns. It's got poor armor, and it's got very poor health pool of only 26,600, which is almost 10,000 less than most cruisers at this tier. So that was the Flint, and that wraps up the cruiser choices for this season. Next we move on to the destroyers, and it's important to mention that last time they did a tier 7 ranked season, destroyers were king. They were massively sort of, I'm not going to say overpowered, but they were played by a lot of people, I think, because they make such a difference, and it's easier to get quite a lot of points by like capping a circle, for example. If you can solo cap, you'll pretty much guarantee to come top, and in the old seasons if you came top you didn't lose a star, so maybe they'll be popular again, but we'll see. Number 1, we're going to go with the Bliskawika. Well, I'm sorry if I've assassinated that pronunciation, but I'm just going to call it the Bliska. So the Bliska is a Polish destroyer. It has pretty good guns. It has a rate of fire of 9.2 rounds a minute. Its gun rotation isn't bad really, with 18 seconds. Its guns hit very hard when it hits something. It's got 7 guns in 4 different turrets, and effectively you can tell you've been hit by a Bliska. I found that last time. It's got an excellent health pool of 15,500 hit points. It's got reasonably good torpedoes as well. They go 8 kilometers and they're 57 knots. What's bad about the Bliska? It's got pretty poor AA. It's got the worst mobility of the 3 I've taken, with a 610 meter turning circle and 5.8 seconds of rudder shift, and its concealment's also the poorest at 7.5 kilometers detection. The next ship I've picked is the Japanese Navy's Shiratsuyu. The Shiratsuyu is one of the new ones. Its guns hit very hard, that's what the Japanese are good at. It's got the best torpedoes of the bunch, 10 kilometer torpedoes at 62 knots, so they're quite quick. It can reload its torpedoes in 5 seconds with the new consumable that Japanese carry, so you give up your smoke for this, but with that you can bang out 8 torpedoes, click the instant reload effectively, 5 seconds later you can fire another 8, so you can fire 16 torpedoes in quick succession. So if people are using smoke, that's a bit of a beast. It's also got the best concealment at 6.7 kilometers. Now the problems with the Shiratsuyu is its gun reload is 7 seconds, which is the poorest of the 3. It's got terrible AA according to its stats, and it's got a very slow gun traverse at 30 seconds each side. So you can use the guns as a last resort, but I wouldn't advise it, certainly if you're fighting one of the other 2 ships I've picked here. So that is the Shiratsuyu. Finally, for the destroyers, we move on to the American Sims, so another premium boat. Unfortunately, a lot of premium boats in this list that would appear. The guns have an excellent rate of fire. They have 18 rounds a minute, so only a 3-second reload. It actually carries defensive AA, so it has reasonably good anti-aircraft armament. Certainly good enough for scaring off bombers and torpedo bombers. It's got excellent mobility with a 500 meter turning radius and 2.7 second rudder shift, which is crazy, so that thing can dance around all day. Its bad points: its torps have a good range of 9.2 kilometers, interesting, but the bad point is they only go 49 knots, which is damn slow. There's actually ships that can go faster than that, so it's quite hard to hit anything with your torpedoes. Its concealment is also not great at 7.3 kilometers. So that was the Sims, and that wraps up the destroyers. Moving on to the final 3, and that is the carriers. Now, I'm going to come straight out and I'm going to admit this: I am not a carrier player. I am absolutely awful, so I barely play them. So what I've done here is I've asked my TTT carrier players what they would suggest for each carrier, and instead of giving the positives and negatives as such, I'm just going to go with the sort of rundown on each one and how you can sort of counter them. Now, the most popular carrier at tier 7 is most definitely in ranked anyway, it's the Saipan. So all those wallet warriors, myself included, who have one, can run this thing out with the tier 9 planes, which are fast as hell, and I think that's the main advantage. You have quite small squadrons of them, minus, I think it's bombers, regular bombers. You get squads of 7, I think it is the base number, might even be 8. It's quite a lot. The fighters, however, as the base number, there's only 3, and the same with torpedo bombers, so that's very small squadrons if you want to have an impact, but against the lower tier planes of the Hiryu and the Ranger, the planes are very, very strong indeed. Now, I've been hit by Saipans that have done 20,000 damage to me in one volley, and I'm sure people have had even worse than that, so it can get quite bad, and they're a very serious carrier. The weakness is, I think, if the other 2 carriers go AS, then the Saipan can get wrecked. The second of the boats, there are only 3 carriers, is the Hiryu. Now, the Hiryu is the best all-rounder. It gives you plenty of squadrons. My TTT carrier players suggested you go 2-2-2. You try and burn the Saipans out by holding his planes off, and in the meantime you try and snipe him, and that's pretty much carrier play for Hiryus. So carrier play in ranked seems to be all about just dominating the other carrier to stop him doing his business, and while you can, sneak a few jabs in on the other ships. Finally, the last carrier is of course the Ranger. Now, the Ranger is widely noted as useless at this tier. Unfortunately, it's not got a very good reputation. However, I have been assured that if you go 2-0-2 for your carrier, so 2 groups of fighters and 2 groups of dive bombers, I believe that is, with dogfighting expert, you can wreck Saipan players. The reason being is I think you've got more reserves. You just go at him and you keep strafing him and trying to just wreck his planes as much as you can, just piss him off, and eventually you will hammer him down, and then you've still got your dive bombers to try and actually do damage with. Again, according to this theory, you won't do much damage, but you will keep the Saipan at bay. So that is aircraft carriers. So there we have it, a nice simple list. The Scharnhorst, the Gneiss, now the Nagato. For cruisers, the Belfast, the Flint and the Fiji. For destroyers, the Bliska, the Shiratsuyu and the Sims, and for CVs, effectively all 3, but the Saipan's number 1, followed closely by the Hiryu. Now, just because your ships weren't on this list, it doesn't mean they're bad at all. There's some that were very close, sort of 4th in each category, the Miyoko being a prime example of a classic ship that everyone loves. Just because it's not on there, it doesn't mean it's crap. By all means, take what works for you. I've just gone with what works for me, and what the opinions of TTT were. By all means, choose your own, and let's debate in the comments what you think you should take, what you're gonna take, and see how we go. I've been Hadders. I appreciate you all watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was useful to you, and I will see you on the ocean's blue.